welcome. It's me, Percita, and this is Percita's Paradox. So here we are. It is Tuesday. We are excited about the new week. We are in a new month. Welcome, March. Hope February was fantastic for you. Of course, we know we had all of our greatness in Black History Month and Valentine's Day, all those other cool things. But we are striving forward, trying to make 2021 the best that we can by any means necessary. If you're a new subscriber, I want to tell you thank you so much for allowing me into your life and into your time, because time is precious and I appreciate you. And at the same time, if you have been with me and stuck it out with me and did all those great things of what a subby does, I greatly appreciate you, my OGs. Thank you again so much. So today, it's always fun when we start talking about progression and things and futuristic thoughts and what we're going to do with our life and how life should be and what we can do. But you know what I'm starting to recognize? Do we actually understand where we are? Meaning, I don't know if we always really focus as much as we should on where we're starting. So today I want to ask you, are you aware of your starting point? Are you in a position where you really are clear at where you stand in your life right now? And I mean that in every aspect of the word, from your personal life to your financial goals, to your career goals, to your spiritual goals, your parenthood, friendships, whatever it is. Are you clear on what it is that you are doing right now? Not what you want to do, not what you try to do, not what you've strived to do or what you're thinking about doing, but what you're actually doing. The difference between verbal words and verbal words meaning nothing is action. And what I mean by that is that when you are in an action place, you'll notice you don't talk a lot. You'll notice everything you're doing is really more in a progressive position of movement, tangible, decisive movement, things that can be quantified and identified as things that are moving forward in your life or moving backwards. But, the goal, of course, is to obviously be in a position of moving forward. And what you'll notice is you can see very clearly where you are when you're doing that. Now, I like to really touch bases on the premise of, even if you're thinking about a GPS system and you will know that you want to get somewhere, the first thing a GPS does is either ask you where you are, or it can identify by a location system as to where you are. But your current location is key. If you are not aware of where you are, there is absolutely no place in your mind to figure out how to get where you're trying to go. Because you do understand, no matter how we flip, there's multiple amounts of ways that you can actually execute and get someplace. Very seldomly in life, even in a map situation, I should say. I was about to say math, but a map-based scenario or compass-based scenario. There are only so many ways you can actually get someplace, but there's very few where you can say there's only one way in and one way out. Of course, we have these things called cul-de-sacs, and we can identify them as one way in and one way out. But typically in a cul-de-sac even, that's via car. You can sometimes walk through a cul-de-sac. You can go obviously through yards through a cul-de-sac, but there's typically another way out. Now, I know some people say okay, Percita, but that's not always the case. Again, I don't speak in absolute because I understand that nothing is absolute but our spiritual side, be it God or whoever else you or whatever else and whomever else you identify is the only absolute. Nothing we do can be absolute, meaning you can't always or never do anything. There's always going to be a differential in a time where you don't do what you used to do, or vice versa, or there's a derivative of what you did that's not exactly the same. So, in saying that, I go right back to the premise of, are we clear in understanding where we are? Are we actually clear? Meaning, when you say things like, I really want to save money. Let's say you want to buy a house and you say, I really want to save money to buy a house. Are you really clear on how you spend your money? And are you really clear on where your money stands right now? Now, I have seen people do some phenomenal things for a short period of time to accomplish a goal like that. The problem remains is that most people that do that have a hard time sustaining said tangible item being a home because they fail to recognize that you don't just save money to get in the home. You also have to save money to sustain the home because there are things that can happen in life that you just want to be aware of. If you only look at things as a short-term goal to simply attain it, and not really have come up with a solution to retain it, it becomes a little complicated. The sustainment of everything is crucial. You want to be able to sustain whatever it is that you're doing. So again, when I say, where are you in your process of whatever it is you're trying to do, it's why I'm constantly stressing the point of, do you actually know if you have the attributes to attain the goals that you're trying to reach, or whatever the situation is that you're trying to reach? And I use a home because a home is something that most people can identify with, and most people have a general idea of what it takes to get a home in the general sense of it. We all understand that there's, interest rates and governmental standards and loan amounts and things like that credit scores that could hinder or help you along the way. But there are things that we directly need to understand that we control. Most of the things I just listed off are all based on things that we all have control over. Your credit score is based on your integrity with paying your bills. And some people say, well, this happened and that happened and I wasn't able to pay my bill. Again, I'm not talking about you to say if you owe money or you're not in a place where you can buy a home right now because of some credit issues that you're a bad person, or it was something that was in your control. What I'm saying is that is still an attribute that you want to be able to sustain going forward. If you basically just have bad credit because you're out shopping and losing your mind and not really looking at what you're spending and just are the type of person that says, I'm going to spend to the wind, and you know what? They can get in, bills can get in where they fit in because I'm going to make it happen the way I want. Well, you're kind of the people I'm talking about. For the people who are really understanding what that is, spending and credit and things like that are all based on character. So it has really nothing to do with if you can pay, because typically when a person can't pay due to circumstances out of their realm, the moment that they can pay, they're paying. And they've already contacted said creditors to advise them of why they can't pay. Because I will say again, it is a integrity issue, a character issue. Has actually nothing to do with your monetary status or what you can and cannot attain. Because good credit comes from communication. That's a whole nother story, but I'm just going to touch on it right there. Outside of that, it's still a premise of understanding if you're able to do what it is that you need to do. So we're right back to, where do you currently stand and what you're contributing towards what you're trying to do? What is your current location for you to reach your goal? How far away are you? Let's talk about it in something as simple as miles. How many miles away are you from actually getting towards whatever it is your goal is? Or I won't even say getting towards. Let's just say actually attaining the things that you're talking about. We don't always think about it. We just don't. I'm not telling you that everyone doesn't. I'm just telling you that most people do not. Most people see the end, and they just see the end and they want to figure out how they're going to get to the end, but they're not being realistic. They're comparing themselves to other people. They're still trying to live outside of their realm of life. They're still telling themselves, that I don't want to miss anything, and all still the YOLO mentality, and I really work hard and I deserve, and that's a touch and go, because we can all say that we deserve, but again, deserving of what? Deserving of reaching your goal, or deserving of having a moment that's short-comed and short-lived, that you just want to live in the moment to say that you are great and you're going to let the chips fall where they may because tomorrow's not promised. I can say all those things, but I'm still going to say, where are you in that thought pattern? How do you gauge how you're going to get to the next level? And what exactly are you doing to get yourself there? Have you punched in your goal and actually ran it towards hitting a button to calculate where you are and telling you how far you are away from your goal? Or are you just making up, locations and longitudes of what life could be like because of the fact that you're not ready to really just hone in on it and make it work? That's the question. Hard question, but a real question, and a question of, are you really ready to get what you want, or are you not? Now remember, hard work is necessary for you to get there, but let's not get it twisted. Hard work does not guarantee you anything. I mean, it would be ideal if we could sit back and say that, okay, Percita, once I've assessed where I am and I am clear in what I'm willing to bring to the table and what I'm going to do, and if I'm willing and able to do everything necessary, including sacrifices, to move forward, and I know how far away I am and what the time frame is, and I am willing to do it, now the next question becomes like, are you actually going to execute? Because once again, with the GPS idea of how life works, once you know where you are and you assess it, there's so many other characteristics that still have to be in line. Do you have enough gas to get there? Do you actually need to stop along the way to make it work? Are you going to run into traffic? Can you handle all those things? Life brings forth frustration that we don't seem to allocate into our travels. Even in your own situation of using GPS for your car, GPS cannot identify if you're going to run into traffic. Isn't that crazy? But it can tell you how far away you actually are. But have you ever been in a situation where you looked up something on GPS because you knew where you were and you knew where you were going, and it said, you know what, it's 5 miles away. So you figure, you don't need that much time because you're going to be able to get over there super quick because it's allocated 5 miles away, 15, 20 minutes tops, right? But you get on the road and then there's an accident. And something out of your control completely jumps into your way. This is where the GPS and your mindset play a big role. What is your reaction to your location at that point? Because clearly, even with the knowledge of where you're going and how to get there, you'd have to understand that you'd have to leave enough room for error. A lot of us don't do that. A lot of us, again, which is what I meant by buying the home, you have done everything it took to get the home. But you've spent every bit of your money, time, and effort to just simply get in. And you forget about things like furniture and appliances and landscaping and lighting and concrete for backyards and grass and things like that. And you find yourself being completely frustrated. You almost can feel like you're in a pit that's going backwards instead of actually progressing. And that's the next step of what we're talking about, which is once you know, can you handle the frustration and the life things, let's just call them that. I was going to call them something else, but the life things that can happen and circumstances that can happen, that even with the knowledge of where you're going, it stifles you. Sometimes it's you and you alone. It's the way that you think and the way that you move. And if you feel deserving or if you feel as if you're winning or losing, that can literally make or break your next move. And the question remains, are you clear in how to handle that? Or do you find yourself, even in this conversation right now, ready to give up because things didn't fall into the place the way you thought they should, and you crossed all the T's and you dotted out all the I's, you used the GPS, you mapped out your route and you knew what you were doing, and everything still fell apart? Can you handle what that feeling is to get over that feeling? Do you understand that deserving is a tricky word? And you have to understand what I mean by that, by saying deserving is not something that you can really stand on for any other reason than giving yourself a catapult to understanding you can work for it and you've worked for it and you can have it. But it does not mean that in all of that it's going to come easy, and it does not mean that it's going to come freely. So it becomes an issue where even after that, we stop and we hinder ourselves because we feel like, well, I've worked too hard to get to this place where I'm still struggling or I'm still going through something. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but that is where the rubber meets the road. That is where the 97% of the people who work for the 3% of the people who don't give up, that's the differential. That's where things become very topsy-turvy in the mindset. Everyone is capable of being the boss and, the lead and all of those things. But we all have the capacity to understand that we're not all willing, right? So what that basically means is that there's only a few percent in the world that's willing to really sit in that traffic without complaining, without losing their mind, without having road rage, that can literally say, you know what, I've waited enough time. I'm going to find another route. I'm going to do something different in order to get to my goal because I know that I want to get there. Or in order to get through this traffic, I know that I still need to make it happen. And they've allowed themselves the comfort of still saying, even in all of this drama, you are still capable of really solving the problem. There's the part that we all need to strive to understand. We're all capable. There's 24 hours in a day. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The only thing that determines a person who actually has tangible self-success, right, which is what the last video was talking about. I'll link it in this video for you to go back and watch it. But the only thing that's different, I'm telling you, is the discipline. You're not going to always want to do it. You're not going to always feel like you need to do it. You're not going to always feel as if what you've done should still require more work, right? But that's the key. The key is to really fight yourself and really move through it and know you are capable. So I'm going to ask you again, where are you? Where is your thoughts? What do you dwell on? What do you allow in your space? What do you allow yourself to tell yourself? Have you punched in the GPS? Did you use anything else to figure out how to get there? And are you okay with, even after knowing you still have to be flexible in order to get to where you're going? Today, I just give you that, and I hope that you understand and going into the world and things still being extremely topsy-turvy and things still being just completely disconnected from most things of what we think we know. And we're constantly trying to adjust, right? And we're constantly trying to put ourselves in the position of being prepared. Preparation is fantastic, which is what we're talking about. But flexibility is more important than all of that. And that's just really where I want you to try to focus today. Know where you're going, know what you're doing, and understand that even in that, flexibility is going to get you there. But know, absolutely know where you are. So, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I greatly appreciate your time. I greatly appreciate you allowing me to come and speak to you. Please feel free to leave comments and let me know if there's something else you want to talk about. You guys have been amazing. Keep sharing. Keep getting the words out. Want to stay as positive and as happy as we possibly can, but I'm a realist and I want to talk to you from a real place because we are having real feelings and emotions. They're very, very fleeting. They shift with the wind. And because of that, we're going to be prepared to understand that it is okay to feel, but it is also okay to overcome and to conquer. So again, as always, remind yourself to do 3 things every day in every situation. Live life authentic. Again, live life authentic. Thank you again. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Can't wait to talk to you. And of course, have a blessed day. Bye-bye.